Okay, I want to talk about one team now whose stock is also up quite a bit compared to last year and compared to where we expected them to be in the standings at the start of the year. And then I also have an honorable mention who I think we have to touch on as well. But I wanted to talk about the Anaheim Ducks. Their stock is up right now. I'm not saying that they're a playoff team by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think they're a lock for to be a lottery team this year, which is saying something if you're a fan of the Anaheim Ducks, because that's where they've been for the last, 5+ years or whatever. They're currently 9th in the NHL right now with a record of 7-4-0, and they're middle of the pack in a lot of stats, a lot of underlying stats, which is a really good sign. So they're 13th in actual goals for and 14th in actual goals against, but they're 14th in goals for above expected as well, telling you that nothing crazy is going on with their actual goal scoring. They're in the middle of the pack. They're scoring about what is to be expected of them. Lukas Dostal has been incredible between the pipes, and John Gibson has been an above expected goalie as well. Both of those guys are getting the job done, which is great to see because we knew that Gibson was good. Maybe not as good as his name leads people to believe, because he's widely considered one of the best goalies in the league. I don't think that's been the case for the last 3 or so years now, but him and Dostal have been really good in a small sample size to start the season. And then you've got the young, talented goal-scoring players. Mason McTavish is incredible to start the year. And then you've got some other players like Vetrano and Strome, and of course Troy Terry, who are all above a point per game. Those 4 players above or around. I think Terry is just below a point per game. But all of those guys are playing incredible. Another rookie on the back end who is playing incredible to add to their impressive and really, really scary collection of defensive prospects is Pavel Mintyukov. 8 points in 11 games as a rookie defenseman. Like, this guy seemingly came out of nowhere, and he's not talked about enough when compared to other prospects, even on his same team, defensive prospects on his same team, like a Drysdale or even an Olin Zellweger, guys who are just talked about more. So Mintyukov has been great. And like I said, I don't think they're a top 10 team in the NHL, but at this point, the underlying numbers look pretty good, and I don't think they're a bottom 10 team in the NHL either at the end of this season. The one thing that's working against them right now, and you can look at this in one of 2 ways, is Trevor Zegras has had a very poor start to the season, only has 2 points in 11 games played. But the reason I say you can look at this in one of 2 ways, of course, you can look at that and say, listen, he just got a contract. He needs to score more goals. He's better than this. He's coming off back-to-back 60-plus point seasons. So you can look at it that way and be disappointed. Or you can look at it and say, listen, he's scoring below expected right now. Maybe there's a bit of a slump because of the drawn-out contract talks. And maybe it's a good sign that he's not scoring right now because, given his track record, he will eventually start scoring. So there's 2 ways to look at that. But I just think the Anaheim Ducks stock is through the roof right now based on where we expected it to be coming into the season.
I think that when we looked at the preseason rankings, maybe last year or 2 years ago, I think it's more likely to be 2 years ago, we said that Anaheim was 1 or 2 years, again, behind the trajectory of the New Jersey Devils. And if that's the case, then this makes a lot of sense because, last year, New Jersey finally kicked off. This year, they're, expected to be a good team. So maybe this is the year that we're expecting Anaheim to kick off. Guys are getting a little bit older. The goaltending is showing up. Not that it hasn't always for them with Gibson in the past. It's funny that when I looked at this team the other day, the 2 guys that stood out to me the most, you mentioned, one is the rookie defenseman and the other being Dostal, because I saw him in fantasy and I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah. Checked him out and he's just a winning machine at the moment.
Yeah, they won like 4 straight or something, did they not?
Yeah, they have currently.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's really what's turning it around, especially with that big comeback win against Vegas. I think they're on everyone's radar right now because of that. And it's fun to see another young team kind of turning the pages. But I don't really know where to expect them, but I think they are a tweener team at the moment, and they're going to need a final push, whether that's next year or late this year. When you look at the analytics and kind of the metrics that I mentioned early on, they are kind of hovering around where they're expected, minus the expected goals differential. They're getting a little bit more favorable outcome there. But when it comes to shooting percentage and save percentage, everything has looked fair. It's fair game where Anaheim is right now. So it's kind of interesting. It's a team I have nothing against, and I'm also not ever rooting for. So interested to see where they end up.
They're a team that I could root for out of teams from California or even the West in general. I could root for them if they got better jerseys. Their jerseys are just abysmal, just terrible.
Voted the worst by the fans every single year.
Every year.
But they don't change.
And they keep teasing bringing back Mighty Ducks jerseys that closely resemble the original ones, but aren't exactly it. And it's guys, stop beating around the bush here. Just bring back the jerseys that everyone wants.
I don't even need them to bring back the exact jerseys we want. If they take their alternate they're rocking and played with the other night and just stuck with that, I'd be fine. The purple one. It looks great.
Yeah, the eggplant and what do they call their green color? Because they call the purple eggplant. The eggplant and whatever. You guys know the jerseys we're talking about.
Seafoam.
Yeah, possibly. Could be. I think Seattle uses that for one of their blues, don't they?
Oh, okay.
Anyway, could be. But yeah, I could cheer for that team if they have better jerseys, but I just can't bring myself to. But you know what? This team is headed in the right direction, and like we mentioned in the past, if they're a year or two behind the Devils, then maybe it's next year where they absolutely shock people. I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs this year because I think that would be silly. That would be premature. There's some good teams in the West, but they're on the up and up, man. And they've got some damn good players who are playing really well right now, aside from Trevor Zegras, who needs to kick it into high gear. By the way, with Zegras, I didn't make a bet, but I was talking to my buddy Nathan at the start of the season, Nate Murray, and I said, watch Zegras get 75 plus points this year. Coming off back-to-back 60 plus point seasons. He's going to get a new contract, going to feel really good heading into the year. The team's going to be better. And then nothing through 11 games. He has 2 points. So I don't think he's going to hit 75 plus, but I could still see him clawing his way back to hitting 50.
The team or the front office definitely has that feeling right now. Sometimes you feel it with your own team, but you're like, damn, I wish Zegras was scoring. But then in the back of their mind, they're like, see, told you. That's why we did the contract the way we did it. That's why we held out. You guys all said. So they have that in the back of their mind, because
they're petty too. The front office, the people who run the front office, right? So
the fact that the team's doing well definitely allows them to be like, told you.
Exactly. I mean, listen, he's a really good player. They're probably pumped that they locked him up because they know that he's going to command a lot more. Just go look at that 2019 draft class and look at the names in it. After Jack Hughes, Trevor Zegras has the second most points in that draft class. So, the likes of Cole Caulfield, who's a scoring machine, he got 8 million or whatever. Matt Boldy got 7 million, and both of those guys are behind Zegras in scoring. So, he's going to get there. It's just a matter of time, but slow start for sure.